Part 26. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzhuan Xianxia. Chapter 251. Maybe Xianxia had already conveyed the words when he went out. Although the Mountain Master succession ceremony has not yet been held, Sun Qinyang has become the recognized new Mountain Master. Both Jian-san, who is responsible for guarding the platform, and other elders who pass by, will respectfully address Sun Qinyang as the Mountain Lord after seeing her. Of course, they recognized Sun Qinyang as Jian Tianming and didn't even say anything about Jian Yi, so they wouldn't pay attention to some of Sun Qinyang's differences. The forbidden area of Wanjian Mountain is at the foot of the mountain. The entire Wanjian Mountain is actually like a giant sword falling from the sky and thrusting straight into the ground. The forbidden area is not far from the ground and has always been in charge of Elder Kenpeke. I've met the Mountain Master. Kenpeke is a female cultivator, and she also got the news. After seeing Sun Qinyang, she bowed respectfully. Elder Kenpeke. Sun Qinyang returned the greeting and said, I want to break through the forbidden area. Mountain Master, please come in. Kenpeke opened his mouth first and spit out a small sword. When the small sword fell into his palm, it quickly grew in size. Then, with a firm grasp, she slashed through the air, and the forbidden area was instantly opened. Sun Qinyang nodded and entered the forbidden area without saying anything else. After she entered, the split formation walls quickly closed, and Kenpeke could no longer be seen. Likewise, Kenpeke can't see her. Jian Tianming had been to this forbidden area before, otherwise Sun Qinyang would not have been impressed by the formation. She walked straight towards the center of the forbidden area. After a while, she was standing in front of the formation, thoughtfully. At this time, Heirizong. Li Heiran, who was possessed by Luo Yanran's golden elixir, still had tears flowing from the corners of his mouth. During these days, Li Heiran was sometimes conscious and sometimes confused. Luo Yanran's influence on him was extremely limited, but at least it could prevent him from playing with Big Dog and the two anymore. Big Dog, there is only one last pill left. What should I do? Chen Hua gritted his teeth and said solemnly. This was not an immediate problem that needed to be solved urgently, but they also felt the chilling atmosphere in the Haori sect. We can only try harder. Who knew that Palace Master Luo was possessed by the golden elixir and couldn't completely control Li Heiran? Otherwise, we could have tricked him out. Daegu thought that Luo Yanran's golden elixir possession would be like Sun Qinyang's transformation into Jian Tianming. But he never thought that Jian Tianming had been lurking in Sun Qinyang's body for decades at that time. Now, should we go or wait here? Chen Hua has no independent opinion and relies on the Big Dog to decide everything. No matter what, we can only escape first. Yesterday when I went out, I happened to hear two disciples passing by. They said that the Magic Wheel sect and Wanjian Mountain were about to fight. The Big Dog also tightened his expression, and then made a decision, saying, there is no other way. If we stay any longer, our chances of survival will be even slimmer. Now is the time to fight. Let's knock him unconscious first, and then go find Li Chengan. Say something is wrong with him and ask him to send someone to escort us out then. As he spoke, he refined his strategy in his mind. It is absolutely impossible for the two of them to sneak out of the Haori sect so easily. At the same time, by bringing Li Heiran along, firstly, Li Heiran can be used as a talisman, and secondly, Luo Yanran is in such a situation just to help them. Naturally, Big Dog cannot leave Luo Yanran alone. Okay, I listen to you. Without further ado, let's get ready now, right? When Chen Hua heard this, he immediately agreed. The two discussed for a while, and then Big Go went to find Li Chengan. However, he doesn't know where Li Chengan is. Wild West Sea, Zixi Island. This is an inaccessible island, thousands of miles away from Yunzhou. A bloated, inhuman child climbed out of the water, walked onto the beach, and immediately lay down. Ha ha ha. I wish Feng that he will survive the catastrophe and have good luck in the future. I will avenge these vengeances one by one. I wish Feng will not let go of anyone who deserves to be killed. A gentleman's revenge is never too late. 10 years is not too late. Not only do I have the storage bag for the peak of the late stage of foundation establishment, but I also have the storage bag for the late stage of core formation. After Zhuozu laughed so hard on the beach that his voice became hoarse, Zhu Feng climbed up and sat cross-legged on the beach. He took out all Tang Zhuyang's things and looked at them all. In the volcano, Zuyun's fire spirit bead was frantically absorbing the spiritual power in the magma. But the amazing thing is that after absorbing it for so long, he didn't feel that the spiritual energy he consumed with the fire escape technique was replenished. It should be that all the spiritual power is in the fire spirit bead. I will stop absorbing it before I can check it. No matter what, let's absorb the fire spirit bead first. Zuyun has a perseverant temperament. The fact that he could stay alone in the Dewu glazed mirror for several years before breaking through to the foundation building stage is enough to show that. He didn't know that the level of the magma was slowly falling because of the fire power he absorbed. The monster beast fighting with Fen Tianyan was not even discovered. As time went by, Fen Tianyan gradually became a little exhausted and slowly fell behind. Every time the monster attacks, it is possible to knock down Fen Tianyan instantly. But Fen Tianyan's figure was agile and incorporeal, so he could persist for a while thanks to his instinctive changes. But if it continues like this, and Zuyun can no longer come out to help, it will eventually be unable to withstand this monster. Spiritual fire is an extremely nourishing thing for fire-based monsters. Otherwise, this monster would not be so patient and want to swallow up the burning sky flame. Some top-grade spiritual medicines are usually guarded by monsters for dozens or hundreds of years, and this is also the case. The burning sky flame was getting weaker and weaker, and instinctively, it began to panic. After leaving the body, the spirit-fire symbiosis art could not play an effective role. If it was swallowed by this monster, it would definitely die. In fact, the burning sky flame had been contacting Zuyun all the time. When Zuyun fell into the magma, it wanted Zuyun to come to help. But before communicating with Zuyun, it lost contact again. In desperation, the burning sky flame could only barely support it and rely on instinct to deal with the monster. Although it is a sky fire, it is still too weak now, otherwise Zuyun would not have planned to come to Chuzhu. But this sudden arrival in Chuzhu caught Zuyun off guard. Just as the burning sky flame was extremely panicked, suddenly, it sensed the existence of Zuyun. At this time, it was already at the end of its strength, so it didn't dare to confront the monster head-on, and rushed towards Zuyun without hesitation. It just wanted to hide in the fire spirit pearl to seek peace. But burning sky flames running immediately attracted the monster. For it, this was burning sky flame exposing all the weaknesses on its back, and it could attack with all its strength. Suddenly, it frantically drove the demon pill in its body, and the demon power was radiating, driving the magma to surge up and down, and immediately woke up Zuyun. Not good. Zuyun had no idea that the fire power in the magma was absorbed by the fire spirit pearl, causing the plane to drop, and even his figure was about to be exposed, not to mention that the monster was gathering all its strength to pounce on him. He just merged his breath with the magma, and the monster was close and could still see him. In a flash, the monster saw Zuyun's figure, and at the same time saw that the burning sky flame had entered Zuyun's body. Without hesitation, it gathered all its demonic power and grabbed his heart with a claw. "Get out of my way! Chaos Palm!" Zuyun roared immediately, and there was no time to react. The most urgent thing was to kill the monster first. Before he could even stand up, Zuyun slapped out a palm. In the Danshan, all the spiritual power condensed instantly, and it was drawn out and poured into the palm. Boom! The fire claw and the chaos palm immediately intersected, and the magma exploded, and was actually split in half, just like a sword cultivator using a supreme sword to split mountains and rocks. Even the volcano shook and rumbled, as if it was collapsed by Zhu Yun's palm. With such power, even the Jindan stage would not dare to face it head-on, let alone a mere monster. With only a painful wail, the monster was blasted out of the magma by the palm power and flew directly into the sky. As the magma had not closed up at this time, Zhu Yun looked up and found that the monster had been slapped out of the volcano. With a long sigh of relief, Zhu Yun's palm power also dissipated, and there was nothing in his dantian. Without spiritual power in his body, the high temperature around him immediately made him realize that he was in danger at this time. This problem can be avoided by using the fire spirit beads to absorb fire power again. But Zhu Yun was not sure whether he could still stay in the magma safely. If not, he would be quickly swallowed by the magma. But just thinking about it for a moment, not only did the magma below surge up, but the two sides began to close. The extremely high temperature made Zhu Yun terrified. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 252. If a cultivator has no spiritual power, what is the difference between him and a mortal? When he saw that the magma was about to swallow him, Zhu Yun suddenly woke up. He couldn't fly, but didn't he have a flying boat? His life was gone in a flash. He directly sacrificed the flying boat, climbed up the edge of the boat in a panic, and threw himself in. The magma had arrived. Zhu Yun didn't care to exclaim, but quickly controlled the flying boat and rushed upwards. Boom! Before flying out of the volcano, there was another loud noise from the ground. The vibration of the volcano became more and more intense. Not only did the inner wall of the volcano fall layers of ash, but also huge rocks fell from the top of the head from time to time. But fortunately, the flying boat had an autonomous defense formation. Facing these natural attacks, it could not cause effective damage, but would only make the spiritual power of the spirit stone consumed faster. At this time, Zhu Yun was extremely fortunate that he still had dozens of pieces left. Otherwise, it would be a big joke if he was not burned to death by the volcano but was crushed to death by the stone. Outside the volcano, the 5 cultivators had already forgotten Zhu Yun and regarded him as an ordinary cultivator who was in despair. However, they never expected that the volcano would suddenly shake and seem to be about to erupt, which made them frightened. Why didn't it erupt earlier or later? Why did it erupt now? One of them complained. They were all ordinary foundation building cultivators who came here just to practice. No one can say for sure about this kind of thing. Maybe it was caused by the cultivator who just jumped into the fire and committed suicide. It's really unlucky. Let's retreat first. Just as they were about to return to the original route to avoid the crisis at this time, a red figure fell from the sky and fell directly on their back road, which scared them so much that they almost fell into the nearby cracks in the ground. This is Red Candle Beast. My God, how could the Red Candle Beast leave the volcano? And it's so weak. When they saw the monster clearly, they exclaimed, "Brother, it's rare to see a Red Candle Beast, and its demon pill is a good thing for us to practice the 10,000 demons technique." That's right, the volcano hasn't erupted yet, so we can dig a demon pill from it. The timing is good enough. Hearing his companions say this, the leading brother couldn't help but look a little moved. After hesitating for a moment, he took out a strange sharp knife from his storage bag. Just when he was about to stab the knife into the belly of the Red Candle Beast, a golden light suddenly rushed out of the fire book. Look, what is that? The golden light was particularly conspicuous in the black smoke from the volcano. The Red Candle Beast was slapped out by Zhu Yun before, and these people didn't notice it. But the flying boat was immediately discovered by Zhu Yun's autonomous defense shield. Could it be that there is any other rare treasure? The eyes of the 5 people all flickered. They were all native cultivators of Chuzhu, and they practiced the 10,000 demons technique, and they were quite familiar with the habits of the monsters in Chuzhu. The red candle beast was not common, and it was very powerful. With their strength, they would not dare to think if they encountered a red candle beast that was intact. It was because the red candle beast could not move, and the seams of its thick scales were still emitting red blood flames, that they became a little greedy, and did not think about why such a powerful monster was seriously injured. When they saw the golden light, they immediately felt that something was wrong, and they did not dare to move. Their eyes were fixed on the golden light after it flew out and floated in the air. The 5 people trembled and looked nervous. They were not very good at seeing, but they could recognize that it was a flying boat. In the Chuzhu area, the most famous thing in the entire Yejing is not only monsters, but also weapon refining. Zuyun did not have many spirit stones, and he had just arrived in this strange place of Chuzhu. Who knew if he would encounter danger in the future and need a flying boat to escape? In order to save spiritual stones, he landed the flying boat. Just when he was about to find a place to enter the Dao glass mirror to practice and restore his spiritual power, he suddenly realized that someone seemed to be staring at him. Suddenly, he moved his eyes over and immediately met them, and was shocked. We meet the seniors. The 2 sides were half a mile apart. The 5 people were afraid that Zuyun could not hear them, so they shouted in unison with all their strength, and then knelt down to pay homage. Zuyun was slightly stunned, and knew that it must be caused by the flying boat under his feet. With a turn of his eyes, he simply pretended to be powerful and shouted in a deep voice, "Get out!" The 5 people were pardoned. How could the seniors in the Jindan period be so easy to talk to? In particular, they even wanted to take the red candle beast demon pill that the seniors beat out for themselves. Hearing Zuyun say this, they stood up in a hurry and ran away. After seeing these people go away, Zuyun set his sights on the red candle beast. He thought that in Chuzhu, there was a lot of demand for demon pills. Maybe if he hunted some and kept them on his body, he might be able to trade for some spirit stones. However, just in case, Zuyun decided to recover his spiritual power first. Who knows if this red candle beast has the ability to explode and kill him again. After seeing that there was no one around, Zuyun found a relatively safe corner with fewer cracks in the ground. With a thought, he entered the Dao glass mirror. "Zuyun, you despicable villain." As soon as his figure appeared, Mu Qingxin's voice sounded sharply, and Zuyun suddenly covered his ears in shock. "Let me out. You go back on your word, you will not die well. I curse you to never break through to the Jindan stage." Mu Qingxin was like a madman, shouting at Zuyun. Although her life is safe here, who wants to be trapped here for the rest of her life? Zuyun sneered and ignored it, but left the cave and entered the pasture. Then he sat down cross-legged, swallowed an intermediate Heki pill, and began to refine the medicine to slowly restore its power. After the elixir was completely refined and his spiritual power had recovered to more than 20%, Zuyun felt a little safer. Opening his eyes, he helplessly muttered to himself, "We still have to find a way to break through to the pill formation stage as soon as possible and learn more techniques. This time, thanks to my quick reaction and the flying boat, I was able to escape with my life god. If we encounter a strong enemy again, the disadvantages of Chaos Palm will be too great." He reached out and touched his lower abdomen, and suddenly thought of the fire spirit pearl. Wait a minute, didn't I say before that the fire spirit pearl can be used as another danshan? Since it is a danshan, it can store spiritual power and see if it has been used up by the Chaos Palm. In the emergency situation at that time, Zuyun did not pay too much attention to the situation inside his body. The fire spirit bead had absorbed the fire spiritual power for so long. If it was not used up, he would have more to save his life in the future. Spiritual power. Thinking of this, Zuyun's eyes lit up and he immediately immersed himself in it, locking his spiritual consciousness on the fire spirit bead. After a while, he was overjoyed. Other than the fire spirit pearl, nothing could be noticed. And as soon as he formed a connection with the fire Lingzhu, he was pleasantly surprised to find that it contained extremely huge fire power. Although these fire powers have not been tempered by oneself, as long as they are in them, they can be used for oneself. He took a closer look and saw that Fen Tianyan was rare and not asleep, but turned into a little person, imitating how he looked when he was practicing, sitting cross-legged to absorb the fire power. Interesting. Zhu Yun was secretly amused. Since Fen Tianyan could absorb the fire power, he should let him absorb it for the time being. There are so many volcanoes here, it's enough. After withdrawing from the fire spirit bead, Zhu Yun continued to practice. He did not leave the ranch until his spiritual power was restored to fullness. Zhu Yun, let me out quickly. Otherwise, even if I'm a ghost, I won't let you go. You hypocrite. Zhu Yun kept sneering, wondering if Mu Qingxin thought he couldn't kill her in the fake wood spirit bead, so that was why he was so unscrupulous. Don't you want to go out? Then I'll take you out later. Zhu Yun left the day-glazed mirror directly and was about to enter the previous volcano again. When he was disposing of the fake wood spirit beads, he caught a glimpse of the red candle beast. I saw that it seemed to have recovered a little, and was getting up with difficulty and walking towards the side. As if he felt Zhu Yun looking at this place, he couldn't help but tense up and let out a low roar. If it were before, Zhu Yun would naturally not dare to deal with it. But now, you are injured, and you are not in a good position to control the magma fire power. How can I be afraid of you? In order to prevent himself from encountering this red candle beast coming in and affecting him again after entering the volcano, Zhu Yun did not stop, took out his long sword, and rushed over. The red candle beast hurriedly retreated, trying to control the magma in the nearby cracks in the ground, but it never thought that Zhu Yun was coming in a menacing way. Not only was it extremely fast, but its figure was even more ghostly. After finally getting the fire on his body to rise, Zhu Yun disappeared before its eyes. Clang! A sword energy struck directly on its scales, making a crisp sound. At the same time, the flames on the red candle beast's body collapsed, its legs became weak, and it immediately fell to its knees. This scale armor is pretty good. I wonder if I can exchange it for this spiritual stone if I take it off. After saying that, Zhu Yun raised his sword again and struck his head with a gesture. You. The red candle beast fell to the ground and begged for mercy. Zhu Yun froze for a moment, and an idea appeared in his mind, which made him immediately change his mind about killing the red candle beast. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 253. The ranch of Daoliuli Mirror can graze animals. But the premise is that the animals that are taken in have no intention of resistance. And obviously, the red candle beast in front of him meets this condition. The key is the strength of the red candle beast, which seems to be good. Although he borrowed the spiritual power from the magma in the volcano, he will need to stay here for a long time. If he can subdue it, he can at least help protect the law in the magma in the future. Thinking of this, Zhu Yun's mind moved, and he immediately put away his sword and put his hand on the head of the red candle beast. With the thought, he quickly sent the red candle beast into Daoliuli Mirror. Then, Zhu Yun turned around and walked to the corner just now, and then entered it. In his ears, Mu Qingxin's vicious curses still came, but Zhu Yun simply ignored it. What else can he argue with a person who is about to die? After entering the ranch space, Zhu Yun quickly ran to the lakeside. Sure enough. At the lakeside, I saw the red candle beast struggling to hold on, with a vigilant look on its face, staring at Zhao Kamang. Next to it, there was the barking of Dog Nose. Even though he didn't understand what Dog Nose was barking, he could still feel the anger in it. "Stop!" Zuyun shouted and walked forward. "Woof woof woof." Dog Nose actually rushed over with a face full of grievance. However, Zhao Kamang did not relax his vigilance. Although he knew that this red candle beast must have been taken in by Zuyun, as a native of Chuzhu, how could he not know the power of the red candle beast? Ordinary foundation building period, dare not provoke the red candle beast. "Zhao Kamang, you retreat too." Zuyun patted Dog Nose's forehead, and saw Zhao Kamang retreat into the lake, looking ready for battle, and he secretly laughed in his heart. However, this also knew Zhao Kamang's thoughts. This was truly surrendering to him, and Zuyun was also very relieved. He walked forward and found that there were many words carved under the feet of the red candle beast, but the handwriting was different from Zhao Kamang's. Suddenly, Zuyun knew why Gaobi was so resentful. Zuyun asked him to write about the holy mountain of Muling, but he finally wrote a lot, but it was wiped out by the red candle beast that fell out of thin air. How could he not be angry? Zuyun laughed secretly in his heart, and regardless of whether the red candle beast could understand or not, he said, "Since you choose to submit to me, then stay here. Remember, find a place to stay, you can only practice and heal here, remember not to hurt others." As he spoke, the red candle beast also knelt on the ground, obviously understanding what Zuyun meant. Zuyun was very satisfied in his heart, and he told Gaobi and Zhao Kamang respectively not to bully the red candle beast, and then turned and left the ranch. Then, the next step is to continue practicing. But before that, he still needs to deal with Mu Qingxin. Listening to the sharp shouts and curses coming from the cave, Zuyun shouted coldly, "Shut up, I'll let you out now." The curses stopped abruptly, and Mu Qingxin immediately said happily, "Zuyun, you won't lie to me." Zuyun grinned and said, "What's the benefit of me lying to you?" Mu Qingxin was silent. She could be said to have told Zuyun the biggest secret, and there was really nothing to lie about. "Humph, if you play tricks on me again, I will scold you again." After that, Mu Qingxin stopped talking, and Zuyun also saved the bead in his hand and flashed away from Daoliuli mirror. Where is this? Even though she was in the bead, Mu Qingxin felt the endless heat wave and couldn't help screaming. "Chuzhu!" Zuyun responded lightly while flying towards the previous volcano on his sword. People who are about to die don't need to say more. "Chuzhu? How long has it been, you actually got from Yunzhou to Chuzhu?" Mu Qingxin was extremely shocked. She knew Chuzhu, but she only knew where Chuzhu was in Yezhu, and didn't know how to get to Chuzhu from Yunzhou. Not to mention, she didn't know that Zuyun was teleported here by the inexplicable teleportation array. "Maybe, I'm faster," Zuyun said with a smile, and he had already fallen from the spirit sword and stood at the crater. Standing high, looking far, and at the same time, people in the distance will also see him. The original 5 people, after initially escaping from the range where Zuyun could not be seen, slowed down their pace. But one of them, not knowing what he was thinking, just looked back and happened to see Zuyun falling into the crater. "Look, why did the senior fly back again?" The other 4 were all shocked and stopped. "Strange, wasn't the red candle beast in the volcano beaten out, why did the senior go there?" Another person said. "Could it be, there is spiritual fire in the volcano, so the senior killed the red candle beast first and then subdued it?" "It's possible, spiritual fire, if we can have spiritual fire, we can enter the weapon refining sect. Not to mention whether we can enter the weapon refining sect, as long as we have spiritual fire, the 5 of us can gain a foothold in Chuzhu. Even the seniors in the Jidan stage are so cautious, maybe the spiritual fire is of a very high grade, yes, otherwise why would the red candle beast and spiritual fire coexist in the volcano?" The 5 people were shallow-minded, and because Zuyun didn't understand Chuzhu, they had a misunderstanding. Wait, the leading senior brother said at this time, even the Jadan stage has to be so cautious to collect the spiritual fire, do you and I want to get involved? Everyone was stunned, and then heard the senior brother continue to say, humph, short-sighted. You may have forgotten the wise saying of our Chuzhu. As soon as these words came out, their faces turned pale. The cultivator is innocent, but he is guilty of holding fire. Chuzhu is divided into 3 major forces. One is the cultivator with spiritual fire, one is the cultivator who practices the 10,000 demons technique, and the other is the monster beast. Of course, there is another kind, which is the monster who failed to practice the 10,000 demons technique and became a monster. However, most of them lost their own spiritual intelligence after becoming monsters, and there is not much difference compared with monsters. Among them, the monster clan is the most, in fact, more than half of them are transformed by cultivators. In fact, they are the cultivators of the 10,000 demons technique. Although Chuzhu is rich in spiritual fire, this kind of spiritual creature born and raised by nature is still very rare, otherwise there would not be so many cultivators who practice the 10,000 demons technique in order to embark on the immortal path. Finally, there are cultivators with spiritual fire. They are considered orthodox human beings, and their cultivation is no different from that of ordinary cultivators, except that they have an extra spiritual fire. But most of these people are from the weapon refining sects, who don't care much about worldly affairs and are immersed in the way of weapon refining. Moreover, more of them have made breakthroughs and advancements through the way of weapon or the cultivation of spiritual fire. So, senior brother, what do you mean? Everyone looked at him eagerly, some reluctant and some unwilling. This is a great opportunity, even if they don't have the strength to get it, they are a little reluctant. Isn't the Liwo sect the closest to this? Let's say that a very powerful spiritual fire appeared here, and someone got there first. According to what senior brother said, if we tip off, we can get a reward. They immediately knew what senior brother meant. That's right, senior brother said proudly, you guys, don't be too greedy, you have to rationalize the benefits. We only tell you the location and information of the spiritual fire so that the Liwo sect can be prepared. The Liwo sect is not small, so the rewards are naturally generous, enough for the 5 of us to risk coming to the volcano to practice. Senior brother is still far-sighted. Listening to the people constantly flattering him, senior brother was very pleased. After a while, he put away his smile and said, let's go, let's notify the Liwo sect. After that, the 5 people started running again. They couldn't wait to get the reward. And Zuyun, holding the fake wood spirit bead at this time, jumped into the volcano. Feeling the increasingly strong firepower from the outside world, Mu Qingxin felt that something was wrong. Before she could ask a question, Zuyun quickly recited the fire escape technique and drilled into the magma. Zuyun, where is this, what are you going to do? Mu Qingxin finally panicked and screamed in fear. What? Isn't this what you dreamed of letting you go? Zuyun's eyes turned cold, and he waited until his breath was completely integrated with the magma before reciting the second level of the formula. His body dived under the magma. After reciting it more than 10 times, Zuyun felt that it was almost done and stopped the formula. Zuyun, where are you? The fake wood spirit bead is not a wood spirit bead after all. Even if it was born here, it still seeped in a little bit in the face of the huge and boundless firepower. Mu Qingxin, who only had a soul body, finally felt fear. Outside, isn't this the outside you've been thinking about? Zuyun used his spiritual consciousness to transmit the sound. Being in the magma, he didn't want to speak, lest the magma penetrate into his throat and burn his body. Let me go. Mu Qingxin didn't have such concerns, and shouted in shock. Let you go? Okay, as you wish. Zuyun stretched out his hand, and then released his palm. The fake wood spirit bead slowly began to fall in the viscous magma. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzhuan Xianxia. Chapter 254. Zuyun had been locking the pseudo-wood spirit bead with his spiritual sense. He could feel the high temperature of the magma constantly burning, but the bead was not damaged at all. After all, it is something born out of the wood spirit pearl. Although the fire power here is strong, the fire cannot defeat the wood. However, if you are directly allowed to sink into the center of the earth, if you can still escape, I, Zuyun, will admit it. Muttering in his heart, Zuyun took back his spiritual consciousness. As Mu Qingxin's hysterical voice faded away, the surroundings finally became much quieter. It is said that one mountain cannot tolerate two tigers. There must be only one red candle beast in this volcano. Otherwise, I would have died long ago when I landed here. Therefore, he had no intention of summoning the red candle beast to protect him. In addition, the red candle beast was not killed by his palm, but it seemed to be seriously injured and needed to rest for a while. Although, if you let it stay here, it may recover faster. But Zuyun had no such plan. Who knew that after Red Candle Beast left the ranch, his suppression of him would be melted by the huge fire power here. A big stick requires a sweet date. Now that the big stick has been struck, he has not yet given the sweet dates. However, when he can completely overpower the Red Candle Beast with his own strength, it doesn't matter if he doesn't give him the so-called sweet dates. After casually finding a place to sit, Zuyun immersed himself in his mind, activated the fire spirit bead again, and began to absorb the fire spiritual power here. In the end, you still need to improve your realm. Now that it's here, let's make peace with it. What's more, for him, this place is a holy place for cultivating fire spiritual power. While Zuyun kept absorbing the fire spiritual power into the fire spirit orb, the five brothers also ran out of the volcanic land and found the Liwo sect they mentioned. Comers, stop. This is where the Liwo sect's mountain gate is, no unauthorized entry is allowed. If Zuyun were here, he would be surprised. The disciple guarding the mountain gate is actually in the middle stage of foundation building. Fellow Taoist, we have something important to report to your section. Can you, please ask a deacon to come out? The leader, the senior brother, had a smile on his face and kept bowing while talking. Snort. The disciple of the mountain sect snorted coldly and said, "What kind of cats and dogs are worthy of seeing me as the deacon of Liwo sect? If you have anything to do, tell me quickly and I will naturally report it to you." Seeing a disciple who was guarding the mountain gate, whose level was similar to that of himself and others, everyone was filled with righteous indignation. You are just relying on Liwo section. If not, how can you be so arrogant? The senior brother was also extremely unhappy, but he really had no choice but to say in a low voice, "Fellow Taoist, we discovered that there is a spiritual fire in a volcano, so we want to inform the deacon of your sect, and then I want some money for tea." Spirit fire. The disciple's eyes lit up and he immediately said, "With such a good thing, why don't you collect the spiritual fire yourself?" The senior brother wanted to tell the truth, but as soon as he opened his mouth, he noticed a flash of greed in the eyes of this disciple, and he immediately knew that this person had some ulterior motives. Most likely, he wanted to find out the information from himself and then go and keep it to himself. Although he didn't know the Liwo sect, he also knew that the major sects in Chuzhu were guarding the mountain sects in turns. Presumably this disciple is waiting to get the spiritual fire after changing his grip. He and his 4 junior brothers have been practicing all over Chuzhu all year round. They have rich experience. They immediately had a countermeasure and directly changed their words. How can we, the casual cultivators, dare to have spiritual fire? Even if we take spiritual fire, I'm afraid we have done it for others' wedding dress. The disciple of the mountain sect laughed, threw out a storage bag containing the spirit stones, and said, "You know the truth. It's easy to pay for the tea, so these are your rewards. You go to the side and wait for a while. After half an hour, it's time to change the deacon. You take me to explore the road, and I will report it to the deacon. If the spiritual fire reaches a higher level, there will be many rewards." Seeing this disciple's reaction, the senior brother felt like a mirror and secretly thought that he had guessed it right. All major sects have ordinary disciples guarding the gate. As long as he has some strength, he will not do such a thing. Perhaps, he just wanted to go one step further by obtaining spiritual fire. Although he was thinking this in his mind, the senior brother had an excited smile on his face and nodded and bowed. He turned around, called everyone and walked towards the edge. Outside Liwo sect, there is a large open platform, and the disciples of this mountain sect are not afraid of these people taking advantage and leaving. "Brother, what do you mean?" One of them whispered. "He is not stupid, this disciple is obviously bullying them," but the senior brother still swallowed his anger and told the truth. "Don't make any noise, we'll talk about it later." The senior brother winked at everyone and said, "Let's see what's in this bag first." The fact that the five of them can walk together for many years has a lot to do with the senior brother's usual distribution of interests and character. All proceeds will basically be divided equally. If he gets a benefit at this time, he will naturally take it out first. However, after taking out the entire contents of the storage bag, the other four people were furious. "This bag only contains 100 spirit stones. How about sending a beggar away?" "Yes, one spiritual fire is worth 100 spiritual stones. You look down on people so much. Liwo sect, are you just trying to bully others?" They were also afraid that the disciple would hear their dissatisfaction, so they spoke in an angry voice. "Everyone knows that if this matter is reported to the deacon, 1,000 spirit stones will be considered a small amount given the generosity of those in the alchemy stage. You know nothing." The senior brother disapproved and said, "These 100 spiritual stones were given to us for free." "Free?" Everyone was stunned and a little confused. He, the senior brother took a peek at the mountain gate and saw that the disciple was beaming with joy and seemed a little smug, so he whispered, "There is a senior in the volcano who is in the core formation stage. He is only in the middle stage of foundation construction. He is not looking for death here." Suddenly, the four junior brothers were stunned. "Senior brother, this plan is. You want to trick him? What a clever plan, worthy of senior brother. It looks ordinary and harmless to humans and animals, but even we didn't notice this killing someone with a knife. So, don't give any clues at this time. If you talk too much, you will make mistakes. If you can't talk, just stop talking and let me do it." Everyone agreed repeatedly, and seeing that it was still early, they simply sat down cross-legged and started practicing. Half an hour later, the replacement came. "Senior brother Li, junior brother, I will withdraw first." "Junior brother son, if you don't go back to the sect, where are you going?" Senior brother Li asked curiously. "Ha ha ha, it's not a big deal. My distant poor relatives are here. I want to show them around and gain some knowledge." Junior brother son also dealt with it casually, but senior brother Li's eyes flashed. "The nearest city is dozens of miles away. If you take someone around, you might be up to something." "A distant relative?" "A monk in the foundation establishment stage has a fart relative." However, senior brother Li remained calm and chuckled. He told him to go away and ignored him. Junior brother son didn't find anything wrong, but went over and called 5 people and walked towards the volcanic zone. When the group of people walked away, senior brother Li took out a talisman from his arms and lit it. With a hint of spiritual power, he quickly jumped along the mountain gate trail. About a cup of tea time, a figure suddenly fell down. "Disciple, why are you here to recruit me as your master?" An old man with red hair had an expressionless face, and his tone revealed impatience. Master, Sun Ziwen took a few ordinary monks to the volcano and tried to deceive the disciples with his sweet words. He must have discovered something terrible in the volcanic zone, so he called Master to come. Oh! The red-haired old man raised his eyebrows and seemed indifferent, but anyone who knew his temper knew that something was about to happen. Master, they haven't gone far yet. Senior brother Li was so frightened that he broke into a cold sweat and quickly warned him, hoping that the old man would leave quickly. When I come back as a teacher, I will have my own reward. As soon as the words fell, the old man's figure disappeared. Senior brother Li wiped his sweat and looked around. When he saw no one there, he murmured, "A strong pill-forming man is so terrifying, Sun Ziwen, I'm sorry. Who let you find the treasure?" At this time, Zuyun slowly woke up. He is still in the volcano. However, it was not that the fire spiritual orb had been filled with fire spiritual power, but that the plane of magma fell again, revealing his entire figure. As soon as the fire escape technique failed, he would naturally sense it. It's just that this time, it's too fast, isn't it? He looked up and saw at a glance that he had fallen at least 10 feet this time. Under his body, the fire power was still majestic, and at the same time, the fire spirit bead was like a bottomless pit, so Zuyun decided to continue absorbing it. Just as he was about to escape into the magma again, a figure suddenly fell down from the top of the mountain with his whole body on fire. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 255. Zuyun was shocked and subconsciously wanted to escape into the magma. But when he took a closer look, he realized that this person was actually coming head first. Being beaten down? If so, does that mean there are others? Under the cover of the stone wall, Zuyun quietly looked towards the crater. I saw several heads protruding from an edge. 5. What a coincidence, they must be the 5 people from before. Zuyun knew in his mind that the 5 people had bad intentions and came back even though they were calling their seniors to escape. So was the purpose of knocking this person down to prove my true strength? At that time, except for shouting the word go, I didn't reveal my realm. When they saw their flying boat, they had already landed. While thinking about it, Sun Ziwen has arrived. This place is only 34 feet away from the crater, and it only takes a few breaths. Zuyun wanted to ask clearly, but he was afraid of being discovered by those 5 people. Unexpectedly, the 5 people retracted their heads in unison. With a sharp look in his eyes, Zuyun immediately took out his sword and caught Sun Ziwen before he fell into the lava. Then, he quickly returned to the stone wall and threw Sun Ziwen to the small stone slab. If you want to live, shut up. I ask, you answer. Before Sun Ziwen could recover, Zuyun burst out with murderous aura and enveloped him directly. Sun Ziwen was seriously injured and his spiritual power was scattered. If not for this, when he fell, he would have had enough time to take out his magic weapon and fly out of the crater. Zuyun immediately analyzed the situation at this time, and naturally threatened him. Sun Ziwen could no longer gather any spiritual power. Under Zuyun's murderous intent, it was good to be able to speak. Seeing that Zuyun was just like this, he nodded with difficulty. Who are you and why are you here? When Zuyun saw this, he shouted in a low voice. Fellow Taoist, I am a disciple of the Liwo section. I heard that there were some rogue cultivators here, so I came over, to investigate the situation. Sun Ziwen's eyes flickered. He is not stupid. The person in front of him who was in the late stage of foundation building was actually staying in the volcano. If he knew that he was here for this purpose, he might not be able to survive. He never imagined that those people would dare to attack people from the Liwo sect. If I hadn't been careless, I wouldn't have been fooled. If I had known earlier, I would have killed them in Liwo sect. However, that's fine, I won't find anyone here yet. Those 5 people obviously had bad intentions and wanted to frame him. Robbers. Zhu Yun's eyes were sharp. He had no favorable impression of the people who killed people and seized treasures in the world of immortal cultivation. Perhaps it was because of Zhang Tianyuan's death that he felt disgusted with this matter in his heart. He has killed people and taken away storage bags after killing people. But every time, it was others who had the murderous intention first. Maybe this is self-deception, or in the eyes of others, this is no different from killing people for treasures. But now Zhu Yun never cares about other people's opinions. Drunk or not is in your eyes, awake or not is in my heart. As long as I keep my Taoist conscience, what do you think, why should I care? Yes, fellow Taoist, those 5 people saw that their deeds were exposed, so they wanted to kill people and silence them, destroy their bodies and eliminate all traces. Before that, they took away my storage bag containing the spirit stones. Sun Ziwen tried to win Zhu Yun's sympathy, but unfortunately he didn't know that Zhu Yun couldn't believe his words. I didn't expect these robbers to be so cruel. Zhu Yun pretended to be upset, took out a qi condensation pill and handed it over, saying with an upright face, "Fellow Taoist, you need to recover your spiritual power first, and I will protect you here. When you can fly up with the weapon, I want to see how arrogant these robbers are." Sun Ziwen's expression changed. He had not deceived Zhu Yun, but was deceived by Zhu Yun. He even became excited about the pill given by Zhu Yun. In the land of Chuzhu, there are very few elixirs suitable for refining elixirs. In such a harsh place, ordinary elixirs are not suitable for growing at all. Therefore, all major sects are extremely short of elixirs. Only powerful people with deep pockets can send people to buy from Yazhu. A janitor like Sun Ziwen would have to hide a treasure in his daily life, let alone an intermediate qi condensing pill. The reason why he was excited was not because he was saved and there were pills to take. But Zhu Yun used the qi condensation pill as soon as he took action. In this case, he still has countless pills on his body. Still dare to stay in the volcano? Presumably, this is a child of a cultivating family who is not familiar with worldly affairs. Thank you, fellow Taoist. When I recover a little, you and I will go up together and execute the 5 robbers on the spot. After Sun Ziwen spoke, he took the qi condensing pill without ceremony. Feeling the majestic power of the medicine, he suppressed the excitement in his heart to refine it. As everyone knows, these qi condensing pills are the worst pills here in Zhu Yun. He was still in Zhuyang Tower at that time and paid compensation from Tang Zhuyang's alchemy room. Zhu Yun responded casually, pretending to help him protect the law, but in fact he was paying attention to the crater. It wasn't until Sun Ziwen had refined all the power of the medicine that he turned around and said solemnly, "Fellow Taoist, let's go, you and I will kill you." Good. Sun Ziwen responded with a righteous look, and motioned for Zhu Yun to go first. Zhu Yun sneered in his heart, took out the flying sword, stepped on it, and secretly pinched an earth armor talisman in his hand. Just when he turned around, the temperature behind him suddenly increased. As Sun Ziwen shouted, "Die!" a pillar of fire immediately rushed to his back. Has the fox's tail finally appeared? Zhu Yun flicked his backhand, and a khaki armor suddenly formed behind the sword hilt. The pillar of fire hit the earth armor and scattered in all directions. Behind the fire was Sun Ziwen's shocked expression. "Boy, I didn't expect you to be on guard." Surprised by Zhu Yun's talisman's methods, Sun Ziwen was even more surprised by the depth of Zhu Yun's city. He even completely guessed that Zhu Yun's purpose in giving him the qi condensation pill was to test him. It's important to be on guard against others. Didn't anyone tell you? Zhu Yun said lightly, then he stretched out his right palm, and a pillar of fire rose from his palm. Li Liwo curse, why do you know our sect's unique magic? Sun Ziwen was shocked. Zhu Yun smiled disdainfully and said, You said it's your sex unique magic. As early as Sun's Hiwen's sneak attack, he already knew that what he was using was the Liwo curse. However, the power was several levels lower than his own. Li Huo, go. Zhu Yun flicked his hand and flew away from the fire. The flames turned into pillars, and the fire pillars turned into dragons. No. Impossible. You have actually reached the level of dragon transformation. Sun's Hiwen screamed, how could he dare to resist? He is also practicing the Liwo curse, and his spells were taught to him by the Liwo sect, so he naturally knows how many levels he has reached. Unlike Zhu Yun, he has always practiced casually. As for which level Hualong belonged to, he never knew. The only thing that can be known is that Li Huo changed like this because he was driven by a single fire spiritual power. Sun's Hiwen's pupils flashed with fear, and he just wanted to escape. Zhu Yun's strength is not as simple as his superficial realm. Also, daring to stay in the volcano to practice is something that only seniors in the Lianzong's alchemy stage dare to do. He immediately offered up a token-shaped magic weapon and pretended to fly away. The movement is very fast, but Hualong's Liwo is not slow either. Just when Sun's Hiwen soared into the sky, the fire dragon also twisted around and chased Sun's Hiwen closely. So fast. Sun's Hiwen was shocked. The fire dragon opened its mouth wide and was only a few feet away from the corner of his clothes. If he slowed down even a moment, he would be bitten immediately. How could he relax? Little did he know that this was the reason why Zhu Yun deliberately kept his hand. Otherwise, how could he escape the fire curse in such a small place? Seeing Sun's Hiwen flying several feet into the air in just one breath, Zhu Yun followed up with his sword. No one can be seen in the crater, but that doesn't mean there is no one outside the volcano. I don't know what kind of sweet words those 5 people used to trick Sun's Hiwen into coming over. They must not leave easily. Since you used this person to test me, I will use him to test you in return. How could Sun's Hiwen, who was running away in a hurry, expect Zhu Yun to plot against him? All we can do is fly upward with all our might. Finally, he was about to leave the crater. When he rushed out with all his strength, he didn't forget to look back at the valley. I saw the fire dragon disperse, and his eyes met Zhu Yun's eyes that seemed to be smiling but not smiling. This is... He was shocked, but he did not expect that the spiritual power of the 5 foundation building realms would attack from all directions. Bang! The spiritual power hit Sun's Hiwen in an instant, and he was even more defenseless this time. The old wounds were not healed, but new ones were added. Sun's Hiwen fell again. Zhu Yun's goal was achieved and there was no need to save Sun's Hiwen anymore. He just took off his storage bag when he passed by him. Just as he was about to go out and kill the 5 people outside one by one, an indifferent and ruthless voice suddenly rose out of thin air. You are so brave, you dare to kill me, a disciple of the Liwo sect. The words fell. 5 balls of fire quickly flashed across the crater. Suddenly, Zhu Yun felt a lack of vitality. These 5 people died like this? Zhu Yun looked horrified, and without hesitation, he rushed straight towards the magma with his sword. But the soul felt that there was a spiritual consciousness in the elixir formation stage behind him, and it was chasing after him. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 256. At this time, Zhu Yun wanted to use all his spiritual power on flying the sword. But in the foundation building stage, speed has a limit. Fortunately, this spiritual consciousness did not catch up after all. Zhu Yun did not relax at all and plunged into the magma. The red-haired old man's spiritual consciousness only detected Zhu Yun's remaining spiritual power and the splashing magma sparks. Strange, if it is a monster, Why does it have spiritual power? If it is a spiritual fire, why can it fly so close to the crater? Is it that sun's Hiwen? The old man talked to himself. He could not imagine that someone would hide in the volcano. He is the elder of the Liwo sect, known as Yan Lao, and is in the early stage of Jindan. In the sect, he is also a well-known strong man. After learning the news from his apprentice, Yan Lao has been following Sun's Hiwen. No matter what they did, they have never shown their whereabouts. He even saw with his own eyes that Sun's Hiwen wanted to kill people to silence them, but instead knocked down the volcano, and did not help. It's just a foundation building period, and there are plenty of them in the Liwo sect. What he wanted to know was what kind of treasures these 5 people were looking for. In the volcanic belt, the most common natural treasures are nothing more than fire essence, flame flowers, and various minerals. Fire essence is condensed from the spiritual power of the fire system, and it has many uses for the cultivation of cultivators with fire spiritual roots. Flame flowers are spiritual medicines, which only grow in extremely hot places and absorb magma fire as nutrients. As for minerals, they are various metals, but because they are located in a high-temperature place, the purity of the metal ores here is extremely high, which is equivalent to being quenched. Of course, if these 3 natural treasures are lucky enough and can meet better years and quality, the effect will be better, and they will naturally deserve the title of treasures. In addition to these 3, there is only spiritual fire. And spiritual fire is the most sought-after thing in Chuzhu. Spiritual fire can be strengthened by swallowing spiritual fire. So even cultivators who have spiritual fire will go there immediately when they get the news that there is another spiritual fire. It was precisely because Elder Yan could not determine what it was that he had kept to hand. He even waited patiently until Sun's Hiwen rushed out of the volcano, and then he felt the breath of spiritual power. Of course, it was emitted by Zuyun. Therefore, in order to prevent others from getting in the way or leaking the news, he acted instantly, crushing the 5 people with a powerful pressure, and then his spiritual consciousness quickly chased Zuyun. But he did not expect that Zuyun's reaction speed was beyond his expectations. Now, if you want to know what this is, you can only go down to the volcano to explore it yourself. But volcanoes are always dangerous. Elder Yan pondered for a moment and decided to take a look. If he couldn't get it, he would go back to Liwo sect and find a few helpers. At most, he would pay a price. As for Sun's Hiwen's life or death, he never cared. Elder Yan soared into the air, and a cloud of fire floated under his feet. Upon closer inspection, it turned out to be a magic weapon like a red ribbon, but it was really unrecognizable under the cover of the flames outside. I don't know what he was thinking. He could fly with his physical body in the Jindan stage, but he insisted on flying with a flying weapon. It took Yan Lao dozens of breaths to land after more than 10 feet. After realizing that there was no more spiritual power fluctuation here, but it was filled with natural fire spiritual power, Yan Lao spread his spiritual consciousness into the magma. But after so long, Zuyun had already gone deep into the magma. The magma was dense, and his spiritual consciousness was limited. Zuyun completely merged his body into the magma again. He simply found another place to sit, intending to use the fire spirit pearl to absorb a little more fire spiritual power, in case he encountered a strong enemy in the future, and he also had more means of self-defense. But he ignored that as the fire spirit pearl absorbed the fire power, the magma would slowly fall back. Yan Lao still carefully explored his spiritual consciousness. But still nothing was found. In desperation, he withdrew his spiritual consciousness, wondering if it was the red candle beast. After all, most of the monsters living in the volcano are this kind of monster. Although he had not seen much, this was common knowledge in this volcanic belt. It was just that the red candle beast was a demon beast, so why did it have residual spiritual power? Puzzled, Old Yan simply looked at the volcanic wall and happened to see the platform where Zuyun was before. With a place to stay, he quickly stepped on it, but did not put away the magic weapon, leaving it by his side to prevent any accidents. Looking around, old Yan didn't care. Not only was there no nourishing things like fire essence, but there were no flame flowers or minerals. He was a little discouraged, thinking in his heart that the unknown object must be under the magma, but just as he retracted his gaze, he was suddenly shocked. In just a short period of time, he found that the magma was actually slowly descending. If he hadn't been standing on this stone slab, he wouldn't have noticed it. Maybe after some time, when it descended more, he would notice it. But how long has it been? Is the Earth's core fire vein leaking? Old Yan unconsciously had this thought in his mind, but he couldn't help laughing out loud. The Earth's core fire vein is like an underground river in other places. If it leaks, where can it leak to? So, that thing must be underneath. Thinking of this, old Yan is no longer in a hurry. Anyway, he has plenty of time, and there is no danger in this volcano for the time being, so he might as well stay here and absorb the fire spirit power in the air to practice. No delay. Sitting cross-legged, old Yan protected the magic weapon around his body, and began to refine the fire spiritual power here for his own use. Compared with the fire spiritual power contained in the magma, the fire spiritual power in the air is naturally much less. But it's better than nothing, and it's better to be idle. As the surface of the magma slowly fell, Zuyun finally felt that the fire spirit pearl seemed to be full. It's strange. Obviously, there was no feeling before, but suddenly, it seemed that the fire spirit pearl could burst at any time. Zuyun stopped absorbing spiritual power, and instead completely penetrated his mind into the fire spirit pearl, and began to refine and purify the spiritual power in it. The fire spirit pearl has the ability to purify, and under Zuyun's control, there was no lag. He was overjoyed, and he became more and more energetic in refining. After the slightly impure fire spiritual power was purified, Zuyun clearly felt the terrifying power contained in it. I'm afraid that the power of this bead can also blow away a Jindan stage. But the magical thing is that every time he purified a bit of spiritual power, impurities would fall into the bead. At first, he didn't care. But after the purified spiritual power increased, Zuyun immediately felt that these impurities seemed to have laid out the ground in the bead. This is a very mysterious feeling. Zuyun immediately remembered that the fire spirit bead appeared in the form of an island above the sea. It can even float on the sea. The reason why the fire spirit bead showed its true form was that the giant turtle smashed the entire island. Suddenly, Zuyun couldn't help but worry. Wouldn't these impurities bury his heart? However, there were still few impurities at this time, and Zuyun thought that he would make plans after more. Now that he is in the volcano, he will no longer consider other things. Take advantage of this time to absorb enough and get this matter done, so that he can do other things without distraction. For example, go to bury the bones of the predecessors, and then find Sun Suanhua by the way. I don't know how he is now. Meng Wei said that Sun Suanhua came to Chuzhu to find a spiritual fire. But is this so difficult? How many have I encountered here? Even Meng Wei has one. Shaking his head, he took back his thoughts and continued to refine the fire spirit power. On the platform, Yan Lao suddenly stood up. Because he found that the magma suddenly stopped falling again. Strange, strange. There must be something wrong when things are abnormal. I thought the magma would keep falling, and the things inside would always show up. Now it seems that I don't know how long I have to wait. I saw a strange color flash in his eyes, and he stood up. Then he hummed in his mouth, and he pinched a spell in his hands. In an instant, 2 pillars of fire jumped out of his 2 palms. Liwo Shuanglong, get up. I saw Yan Lao holding 2 pillars of fire in his hands, and suddenly raised them up. Just like Zuyun's Liwo, the pillars of fire turned into dragons and soared into the sky. In this space, there was a faint sound of dragon roaring. When the fire dragons soared into the sky, they actually intertwined. Looking closely, the two fire dragons seemed to be slightly different, one male and one female, as if they were mating. At the same time, the air here was also driven, and the suction force was so strong that the surface of the magma was also affected and began to shake violently. It was as if a tornado suddenly attacked the calm sea surface. Boom! Suddenly, the magma was like a mad dragon coming out of the water, and the two dragons of Liwo also soared into the sky, and the surface also quickly fell back. In an instant, a head appeared. It was Zuyun. An incredible look flashed in Yan Lao's eyes. He could never have imagined that there was a late foundation building hiding in the magma. This magma, even he didn't dare to come down. So, this boy has a rare treasure. Fire Cloud, go. His mind moved, and the magic weapon quickly swept towards Zuyun. And Zuyun also opened his eyes when he revealed his figure. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 257. Not good. Zuyun marveled in his heart and saw a ball of fire rushing towards his eyes. It's coming so fiercely that there's no way to dodge it. In desperation, he just touched his arms and took out the talisman and blocked it in front of him. Boom! The fire cloud, like a spiritual snake coming out of its hole, froze instantly. Good boy, there is indeed a rare treasure. Yan Lao's eyes lit up. He was not unhappy at all because Huoyun had been hit by the counterattack. Instead, he became interested because Zuyun was able to withstand the blow during this short period of foundation building. Of course, the interest is only for the talisman in his hand. It's just that the talisman is not in his hand, so he can't recognize the difference between it and the magic weapon. Zuyun wanted to take advantage of this blow and hide in the magma. It can be seen that the magma is still falling all over the body, and at the same time, the height of the magma pillar in the center is still rising, so I gave up this idea. Who knows how much magma will escape during this pill formation period? He didn't think too much and directly launched the flying boat. He threw his body in like a rolling lazy donkey and controlled the flying boat to fly at full speed. What a good boy, you even have treasures like flying boats. Boss Yan was overjoyed, and the greed in his eyes continued to flow. In his opinion, could Zuyun, a boy in the foundation building stage, escape his pursuit? These magic weapons are all in his possession. Immediately, he took back the fire cloud and gave chase. Zuyun cursed in his heart. Even though he was hiding in the volcano, he couldn't even live in peace. If he hadn't been afraid that the fragments of the Diwu glazed mirror would be burned by the magma, he wouldn't have been discovered. But right now, the only option is to escape. Compared to Yan Lao, the speed of the flying boat was neither too fast nor too slow. But the spirit stone couldn't support him flying for too long. As soon as he came out of the crater, Zuyun saw several smoking volcanoes. Gritting his teeth, he immediately rushed over. As far as the eye can see, except for the volcano, there is no hiding place at all. Only through these volcanoes can we gain some breathing space. Good boy, are you still going to run to the volcano? When Yan Lao chased him out of the crater, Zuyun was already not far from the nearest volcano. Even as soon as these words were spoken, the golden light of the flying boat was already hidden in the smoke of the volcano. Things that I, Mr. Yan, like, never run away. Mr. Yan snorted coldly in his heart, not taking Zuyun seriously at all. It's just a foundation building period. Zuyun passed through the billowing smoke and rushed straight into the volcanic magma. When the flying boat was about to get close, he quickly put it away. Just as he was about to dive into the lava, a familiar monster suddenly emerged from the surface, stretched out its two claws and grabbed him in the face. Another red candle beast. Get out of my way. Zuyun had no time to dodge. He had already noticed that Yan Lao had also rushed into the volcano. and the crater is only 20 feet away from here. As long as he dodges, Yan Lao can trap him immediately. Zhu Yun made a prompt decision and frantically mobilized the spiritual power in his dantian to meet him. Bang! There was a loud noise and a huge collision of spiritual energy, instantly setting off waves of fire. The claw of the red candle beast was broken off by Zhu Yun's palm. But Zhu Yun also felt uncomfortable. Feeling something sweet in his throat, he suddenly spurted out a mouthful of blood. It's not that he can't use Chaos Palm. But after using the Chaos Palm, his spiritual power was completely gone. Although there is a lot of fire spiritual power available in the Fire Spirit Orb, Zhu Yun feels that he has not yet fully grasped the magical uses of these spiritual powers. The red candle beast was slapped into the lava with a palm. Zhu Yun also endured the huge pain in his palm and used the fire escape technique. Wow! Zhu Yun also disappeared into the magma. Still want to run? Yan Lao flew down from the sky, with a sneer on his face, and quickly directed his spiritual consciousness toward the magma. He didn't believe that Zhu Yun could escape from under his nose. However, after a few breaths, shock crept onto his wrinkled old face. How could there be no one? This kid can't run so fast, can he? Yan Lao almost tried his best to probe his spiritual consciousness to a depth of more than 10 feet, but he couldn't find Zhu Yun's whereabouts. On the contrary, the red candle beast with its broken claw is licking its wounds and using its demonic power to recover. Strange, strange. Could it be that this kid has some hidden treasure, or a technique that can isolate my spiritual consciousness? Old Yan murmured a few words. Originally, he would be wary of the red candle beast, but unfortunately, after being injured, he would not take it seriously at all. Humph, let's see where you can hide. Yan Lao did the same thing again, just like he did in the first volcano, and condensed the Luo double dragon with his hands. The magma in the middle was brought up again, while the surface fell rapidly. I, Mr. Yan, am famous for my spiritual power reserves in Luo section. I can use this trick countless times. Let's see how long you can hide. A look of confidence flashed across Yan Lao's face. The more Zhu Yun avoided him, the less likely he was to let Zhu Yun go. There wasn't much good stuff in Chuzhu, and Zhu Yun alone had a few things that interested him. How could he let it go? Suddenly, Yan Lao's mind sank again, and the surging pillar of magma became thicker and faster. At the same time, the magma surface also suddenly fell back. However, Zhu Yun's figure was not revealed yet, but the red candle beast was revealed. Roar! The red candle beast, who thought he could recover safely in the magma, was frightened and rushed towards old Yan. Beast, if you had all your limbs intact, I, old Yan, would have to give you some leeway. Now that you have been cut off by that kid, how could I be afraid of you? Looking at the red candle beast dragging its broken limbs, old Yan immediately summoned the fire cloud. The fire cloud seemed to have intelligence and went straight to the red candle beast's broken limbs. Roar! The red candle beast followed its instincts and naturally could not let its broken limbs get hurt again. It roared and shrank to its chest. But it didn't know that this was exactly what old Yan wanted. He smiled contemptuously, and the fire cloud actually changed its form, turning into a large net and rushing over. In an instant, it covered the red candle beast, and at the same time it suddenly shrank, trapping it completely in it. It was no different from the hunting net of mortal hunters. Animals are just animals, they have no brains. Old Yan controlled the fire cloud that turned into a net and fell towards a stone slab. The fire cloud can strangle the red candle beast, but it takes time. Old Yan gave the order and just turned around, but suddenly a terrifying fire power burst out from the magma. There is another red candle beast. Such powerful fire power, even he can't use it easily, it takes a long time to brew. Unless it is a red candle beast that has been practicing for 1,000 years, it is possible to borrow the power of the volcano. But under the magma, I just used my spiritual sense to explore it, not to mention that the red candle beast is alone. How could there be no signs? Could it be that kid? Impossible. That kid is only at the foundation building stage. Although he was surprised, Old Yan also reacted very quickly. Although the fire power was fierce, it was straight and not difficult to avoid. Old Yan just moved slightly, took a step to the side, and got out of the way of this pure spiritual power fire column. When it passed by his side, he felt the horror at close range, and was secretly shocked. Under the magma, Zuyun was extremely annoyed. He escaped. Is the reaction of the Jindan period so sensitive? He had never dived deep, but only used the first level of the fire escape technique to completely integrate his breath into the magma. In fact, at this time, he was not too far from the surface of the magma. He didn't dare to use the spiritual power in his dantian carelessly, so he thought of using the spiritual power purified in the fire spirit pearl. But he didn't expect that Old Yan could easily escape. Pure spiritual power, there is no change, and wait, I'm really stupid, didn't I use the fire curse before in the valley? Suddenly, Zuyun remembered that he could still use fire spells. He was really too nervous. Moreover, facing the Jindan stage who used the fire separation curse more powerfully, he subconsciously thought that his fire separation curse would not work, and only thought about finding an opportunity to use the chaos palm. If it was before, this would be correct. But at this time, these fire spiritual powers have been purified by the fire spirit pearl. Fire separation sect, fire separation twin dragons. Hee, I'll let you taste my fire separation later. Zuyun was in a good mood, but he was not too excited because he thought of a way. In order to prevent Yan Lao from being afraid and escaping, Zuyun prepared 3 steps. The third step is naturally the chaos palm. The second step is to use the purified spiritual power to use the fire separation curse. As for the first step, he plans to use the burning sky flame. No one can resist the temptation of spiritual fire. If there is, then he must have never seen the sky fire. Zuyun plans to use the burning sky flame to make Yan Lao lose his mind, and then use the fire separation curse to trap and kill Yan Lao. If he can't kill him, then he can only leave the magma and use the chaos palm. I just don't believe that you, a person in the early stage of Jindan, can withstand the 3 axes of mine, Zuyun. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 258. After Zuyun made a plan to counterattack, he did not act immediately, but stabilized his injuries first. He did not use any moves just now, and only relied on his spiritual power to fight the red candle beast head-on. He received a lot of recoil force. Moreover, in order to avoid running out of spiritual power and being unable to use the fire escape technique in the magma, he gave up the chaos palm. Otherwise, the red candle beast would definitely die. But Zuyun knew that if he killed the red candle beast, he would not be able to survive. That's why he made the right choice at this critical moment. In the magma, he could not take out the pills to swallow, and he did not dare to enter the Daoliuli mirror to avoid accidents. He could only use the chaotic spiritual power in his body to heal his wounds. After about a cup of tea, Zuyun felt more comfortable, and then summoned the burning sky flame from the fire spirit pearl. In an instant, the unique breath of the spiritual fire was discovered by Yan Lao floating on the surface of the magma. There is actually spiritual fire here. He was slightly stunned and looked at the red candle beast. Logically speaking, the red candle beast and the spiritual fire could not be in the same place. Either, the red candle beast was burned to death by the spiritual fire, or the red candle beast swallowed the spiritual fire. But why is there still the breath of spiritual fire here? Thinking of this, Yan Lao quickly focused his spiritual consciousness on the burning sky flame. Is this earth fire? No, this is completely different from the breath of earth fire. Although it is still a little weak, but gradually, ecstasy appeared on his face. Since it is not earth fire, he is the sky fire? In an instant, Huo Lao's breathing became a little hurried, and at the same time, he quickly restrained the den-forming aura emanating from his body. He didn't know why the sky fire appeared here, but he knew that he might scare him. Maybe it was just born in the earth veins, so the spiritual intelligence is weak, and it floated to the magma to take a look. While guessing, Yan Lao floated his body to the side of the red candle beast. The red candle beast was completely tied up by the net formed by the fire cloud, and it couldn't move at all. The broken limbs made it unable to break free, and even affected its control of the magma. If you weren't here, I really don't know how to draw out the sky fire. Old Yan landed on the platform, took out a bone-cutting knife with a cold glow, and stabbed it into the belly of the red candle beast. It couldn't even make a scream, and the red candle beast was already dead. Then, Old Yan stretched his hand along the knife edge, and when he took it back, his palm was not only covered with red demon blood, but also a demon pill. He wanted to use this demon pill to draw up the burning sky flame. However, he thought that the burning sky flame was the newly born sky fire. Even if he had intelligence, he might not be able to resist the temptation of the demon pill. The red candle beast lives in magma all year round, and the fire demon power in the demon pill is also transformed from spiritual power, which has a great effect on the newly born spiritual fire. Old Yan used his spiritual power to control the demon pill to slowly fly to the surface of the magma, constantly cruising back and forth, trying to lure the burning sky flame out of the magma. In fact, if the burning sky flame was not a master fire and was controlled by Zuyun, Old Yan's trick might really succeed. Humph, you want to deceive my burning sky flame? Then I'll use your trick against you. Zuyun didn't expect that he would be ignored by Old Yan, and couldn't help but sneer in his heart. He quickly gave Burning Sky Flame an order in his mind, which was to let it reveal half of its body, to make a move of resisting but also welcoming. Burning Sky Flame naturally didn't dare to defy Zuyun's fate. Now it was not only controlled by Zuyun, but also by the Fire Spirit Pearl. Of course, it also benefited a lot from the Fire Spirit Pearl. So it was impossible to be kind to Zuyun. After knowing Zuyun's intention clearly, Burning Sky Flame quietly revealed the flame of its head. Seeing this, Old Yan was excited. But he was not in a hurry. The higher the level of the spiritual fire, the easier it is to be frightened. He controlled the demon pill and moved slightly closer to the Burning Sky Flame. After keeping a subtle distance, he stopped. Through the Burning Sky Flame's communication, Zuyun knew exactly what was happening at this time. It was nothing more than acting. Haven't I, Zuyun, acted enough? He healed his wounds while letting the Burning Sky Flame cooperate. As time passed slowly, after Zuyun recovered, Old Yan also felt that the time was finally ripe. And under Zuyun's command, the Burning Sky Flame had completely floated on the surface of the magma. It's almost done. This demon pill is a reward for you. Anyway, you will soon become my sky fire. Old Yan suppressed his excitement. This time he directly controlled the demon pill to fly towards the Burning Sky Flame. But the Burning Sky Flame's fire rose and directly engulfed the demon pill. At the same time, Old Yan looked triumphant, and suddenly released his spiritual consciousness to lock the Burning Sky Flame, and then flew over. Just pinch the Burning Sky Flame, then it will never run away again. Thinking that he would advance to a higher level because of the Burning Sky Flame, Old Yan was extremely excited. However, just as he left the stone slab and floated above the magma, Zuyun also moved. Liwo, go. This time, Zuyun was like using the Chaos Palm, frantically extracting the purified spiritual power from the Fire Spirit Pearl. While he was still in the magma, Liwo rushed out. He had already reached the realm of Liwo, turning into a dragon. This scene was like a mad dragon coming out of the sea. The Liwo that made the move also turned into a fire dragon, with an extremely fierce momentum, bringing up the magma, and the momentum was even greater, rushing towards Old Yan. Boy, you dare to sneak attack. When Zhu Yun's spiritual power moved, Old Yan noticed something, but he thought Zhu Yun was still attacking with fire spiritual power, just like before, and he suddenly retreated. Although the burning sky flame is important, life is more important. Zhu Yun has the power to kill him, which Old Yan already knew before. However, Old Yan didn't take this one move seriously. But in a moment, Old Yan didn't think so. As the magma fell, the true appearance of Luo was revealed. Damn it, Luo turned into a dragon. Old Yan was shocked and couldn't help shouting in surprise. How could he not know the Luo Ju of Luo sect? And the reason for being surprised was that the Luo that turned into a dragon would be controlled in the attack direction. In other words, his dodge just now was completely useless. The scream was still echoing in the volcano, and the Luo dragon turned its head fiercely, opened its mouth wide, and bit towards Old Yan. Impossible, this kid is from my Luo sect? He is only in the foundation building stage. Old Yan didn't care about the burning sky flame at this time. While he was dodging in a hurry, he also slapped his hands with flames. Luo double dragons. Although the spells of the Jindan stage are not as fast as words, the speed is still quite fast. Not to mention that Old Yan has practiced Luo Ju for hundreds of years, and the word mastery cannot be used to describe him. Instant. The three fire dragons collided with each other. The huge power not only made the volcano vibrate and roar, but also stirred up magma, creating an endless sea of fire. Boy, who are you? I am the elder of Luo section. Don't burn down the temple of a family. A murderous intent flashed in Old Yan's eyes, but he kept shouting, trying to trick Zhu Yun to stop. As long as he showed his figure, wouldn't he be at my mercy? He was just in the foundation building stage, but he could make the Luo dragon show such a powerful attack power. He would never believe it without the bonus of the treasure. However, his plan went wrong. In response to him, there was only a more powerful attack. Chaos Palm. The collision of the three dragons not only caused repeated loud noises, but also disrupted the spiritual power inside the entire volcano, which gave Zhu Yun a chance to strike with his palm. By the time Old Yan reacted, Zhu Yun had already rushed out of the magma and slapped out this palm with a fierce look on his face. At such a close distance and in such a small space, he couldn't dodge at all. You boy, you dare to betray your master and destroy your ancestors. He subconsciously thought that Zhu Yun was a disciple secretly cultivated by an elder of the Luo sect, and that was why he had such a deep attainment in the Luo curse. But when the chaos palm swallowed him whole, he realized that this was not the case at all. Moreover, he couldn't even escape with his golden elixir. It was too late. The palm power did not blast Old Yan into ashes, but Zhu Yun's goal had been achieved. Old Yan, dead. Zhu Yun also quickly summoned the flying boat and caught the corpse with his eyes wide open. Just as he took his storage bag from his waist, a ball of fire suddenly emerged from the corpse and rushed straight towards Zhu Yun. Oh no, he still has spiritual fire on him. Zhu Yun screamed, and his vision was completely covered by the flames. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 259. Zhu Yun was helpless and half lying in the flying boat. Even if he was using his hands and feet at this time, how could he avoid the spiritual fire? Seeing that Zhu Yun was about to be engulfed by this spiritual fire, he just heard a whoosh sound. A flame with brighter flames flew over. It's Fentianyan. Eat, delicious. The familiar voice came, and Zhu Yun's heart finally relaxed. He breathed a sigh of relief, wiped off a handful of cold sweat, and then looked at the two flames that merged into one. I saw two flames completely intertwined together. Compared with Fen Tianyan, Yan Lao's spiritual fire is darker in color, but obviously, it is no match for Fen Tianyan. After just a few breaths passed, the dark flames were completely invisible, and it was obvious that they had been completely eaten by Fen Tianyan. Even Zhu Yun could feel the excitement and satisfaction coming from Fen Tianyan in his mind. Come back. Zhu Yun gave the order, and Fen Tianyan immediately got into his heart and retracted into the fire spirit bead. At this time, a muffled sound suddenly came from below. Before Zhu Yun could react, the magma surged again, followed by a huge fire power. No, it must have been too much noise from the fight just now. Zhu Yun stopped staying. If another accident happened, he would not be able to deal with it. The spiritual fire in Yan Lao's body just now could be said to have taught him a life or death lesson. As the flying boat rose upwards, the inner walls of the volcano began to peel off layer by layer, smashing into the magma and splashing countless sparks. Zhu Yun didn't know that this was a precursor to a volcanic eruption, and he also knew that he should stay as far away as possible. He began to control the speed of the flying boat. Although there were not many spiritual stones, at this speed, there was no problem in persisting for an hour. The most important thing is that there is a corpse of Yan Lao here, and his storage bag is still in his hand. If he hadn't just wanted to rest at this time, Zhu Yun would have just thrown the body into the magma, leaving him dead without any trace of evidence. While controlling the flying boat, he took out an elixir and swallowed it in his mouth. It was impossible to actively refine it. He could only let his body absorb the power of the elixir on its own. Although the recovery speed was slower, it was better than nothing. As soon as the flying boat left the volcano, a loud noise was heard. Boom! After the loud noise, thick smoke first came out of the volcano crater, and then a giant pillar of magma rose into the sky. Fortunately, I run fast. Zhu Yun glanced back, feeling annoyed, but he had not yet come to his senses. Volcanoes in all directions shook one after another. Thick smoke was everywhere, and there was a roar. Suddenly, he murmured, "Isn't it right? This volcano will explode into pieces when it explodes." He glanced around again and saw that they were all volcanoes. Forget it, don't think about it anymore, let's escape this volcanic zone first. At this time, Liwo sect. It's not good. A sharp sound resounded through the sky, immediately alarming many fellow disciples nearby. Why are you shouting? The nearest elder noticed the sound coming from the Soul Pi Hall and rushed over immediately. I saw the guarding disciples, their faces full of fear and uneasiness, their whole bodies trembling. Say it quickly. This elder was wearing the same Taoist robe as Yan Lao, with 3 flames on his left chest sleeve. Yan, old Yan, is dead. When the disciple said these words, he seemed to have used all his strength and collapsed to the ground. What? Yan Lao is dead. When the elder heard this, a flash of surprise flashed across his face, and then he suddenly rushed into the hut in front of him as if he had remembered something. This room is the Soul Pi Hall of Liwo sect. Everyone in the door who is above the foundation building stage will have a soul card linked to life and death placed here, including their elders. Seeing a sign with the word Li Yan engraved on it fall to the ground and split into 2 halves, a look of joy finally flashed in the elder's eyes. But when he turned around, he disappeared in an instant and said in a majestic tone, "Old Yan has passed away. This is a major event in our section, please go and inform the sect master." Yes, yes, Mr. Ju. The guarding disciple had long been at a loss of consciousness. When he received the order, he quickly got up and hurried towards the direction of the sect master's hall. Ju Lao showed a meaningful smile. Old Ghost Yan, I didn't expect that you would also die. Now, all your good things will belong to me." After that, he actually rushed in the opposite direction. That's where Yan Lao Cave Mansion is. After a while, the wine fell. When the sound reached the cave, several disciples immediately rushed out. Seeing that it was Elder Jew, their expressions changed, but they all bowed and saluted, saying, "I have met Elder Jew. Your master asked me to come get something, please get out of the way." Zhu Lao said in an unquestionable tone. "What?" Several disciples were stunned, including senior brother Li, who had previously guarded the mountain gate. His master, Mr. Yan, has always been at odds with Mr. Zhu. How could he let Zhu Lao come to pick up something? "Do you need this elder to say it again?" Zhu Lao raised his eyebrows and immediately released the pressure of the pill formation stage. In recent years, Mr. Yan's strength suddenly increased greatly. Not only did he have spiritual fire, but he also rewarded many pills for his disciples to practice. As a result, the overall strength of Yan Lao's lineage surpassed that of Zhu Lao's. In Luo sect, competition within the sect is fierce. The higher the ranking of the elders, the more resources they can obtain for cultivating immortals. And this ranking depends on the comprehensive assessment of the strength of the elders and their disciples. Originally, Zhu Lao and Yan Lao were on par with each other, but in the past few years, Yan Lao has left Zhu Lao behind. Now that his rival is dead, Zhu Lao wants to take this opportunity to seize his hidden resources. As for these disciples, they will be redistributed to their respective elders according to the ranking of the elders. Therefore, when the sect master learns of the death of Yan Lao, he will definitely rush here, and it will be impossible for him to seize the resources. Don't dare. The disciples didn't understand, but seeing Zhu Lao dare to threaten with force, they more or less knew that their master had met with an accident. Immediately, they dispersed to both sides without saying a word. Because no one knew who would be assigned to Zhu Lao's subordinates at that time. It is said that Zhu Lao often pretends to be drunk and beats people to vent. This is the Jindan stage. After Zhu Lao entered the cave, the dozen disciples began to discuss in a low voice. "Since Zhu Lao is here, I'm afraid that master is dead. It's almost certain, otherwise he would dare to be so arrogant. Be careful with your words. Aren't you afraid that Zhu Lao will make things difficult for you in the future? By the way, senior brother Li, it seems that you burned a sound transmission talisman for master before." Senior brother Li looked up at the cave, shook his head, and quickly lowered his head. How could he dare to say it at this time? Master must have died while chasing Sun's Hiwan. If he told this news, other elders in the sect, and even the sect master, would ask him for information. What if he let him lead the way? He can kill all the people in the Jindan stage, and I, a foundation establishment stage, I'm afraid I don't even know how I died. Seeing senior brother Li's reaction, the other disciples also knew the general situation, and no longer said anything, but just listened to Zhu Lao's joyful voice in the cave, and their hearts were full of mixed feelings. Over the years, they have lived a good life. Although Elder Yan is strict, as long as they practice well and do not lose face for the affairs of the sect, they will receive a lot of rewards. Not to mention elixirs, there are even talismans and magic tools. If Elder Yan is in a good mood, he can also reward them with some spiritual wine. Although spiritual wine is not very effective for their practice, it is good for relieving fatigue. And now that Elder Yan is dead, I don't know if they will have such a good life in the future. At this time, several figures fell to the ground in unison. There were more than 10 people in the Jindan stage. All the disciples knelt down in unison, greetings to the sect master, to the great elder, the second elder, the third elder. No need to be polite. The one who spoke was the sect master of the Luo sect, Li Tian. All the disciples were trembling with fear. Normally, they could not see the sect master at all. But this fiery red Taoist robe and the endless majesty on his face made them know that this was the sect master. Usually, they could occasionally hear old Yan talking to himself, saying when he could reach the peak of the late Jindan stage of the sect master. Now, the sect master was standing in front of them. "Li Ju, you are quite fast." Li Tian ignored these disciples, but said lightly to the cave entrance. After the voice fell, Li Ju walked out with a smirk on his face. "Meet the sect master, I just want to pick a disciple first." "Humph." Li Tian snorted coldly, and the majesty of the sect master was revealed. "Pick a disciple? Don't think that I, Li Tian, don't know what you are thinking. Li Yan died, except for the disciples who will be divided among you, all others will belong to the sect." After saying that, he ignored the ugly faces of everyone and walked straight into the cave. Who doesn't know that old Yan is the richest man in the sect in recent years? But only a few people know why he became the richest man, except for Li Tian. A Yaezhu man who knows many tricks. But this person was hidden so well by old Yan that even Li Tian didn't know where he was hiding. Now that old Yan was dead, he had a legitimate reason to search his cave. "I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills." Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 260. However, not long after, Li Tian walked out with a cold face and empty hands. The elders were naturally very good at observing faces, and they all breathed a sigh of relief. Although the sect leader is strong, it will help increase the reputation of their sect. But they knew exactly why Liwo sect was far away from the center of Chuzhu. It is claimed that this place is close to the volcanic belt, which will help them practice the Liwo spell. But in fact, it is a place far away from right and wrong. There are fewer demons in Chuzhu, but the competition and infighting are no worse than other places. Wherever there are monks, there will be strife. In Liwo sect, there are only more than 10 names in the Dan formation stage. It's better than the inferior, but far worse than the superior. Not to mention, the sect leader wanted to become stronger. After reaching the bottleneck, he left the Liwo sect and went to the Peeper realm. As a result, the Liwo sect is missing a main character and has nothing to show for it. According to the ranking order of the elders, you can divide them among yourself. Li Tian said coldly, and finally turned his gaze to Li Ju, saying in a deep voice, "You want to rob Li Yan's relics without authorization, so you will be responsible for investigating the cause of Li Yan's death." I found out the information from the soul card. Li Yan died in the volcanic zone. Li Ju was only in the early stage of forming a pill. Faced with Li Tian's arrangement, even though he was unhappy in every way, he could only agree. "Yes, sect master." After saying that, he soared into the sky with helplessness in his heart and flew towards the volcanic belt. It's really a waste of money. Who knew these people would come so fast? What's more important is that there is nothing worth taking away from Li Yan's cave. Big loss. After seeing Li Ju leave, Li Tian also returned to the sect master's hall. At the head of the hall, there was a wide red chair, exuding firepower. Li Huo just sat on it, holding his chin in his hands and thinking. He knew that Li Yan brought someone here a few years ago. Since then, Li Yan basically stayed in the cave and rarely went out. It was only once that I traveled far away and learned about the spiritual fire. The rest of the time is spent cultivating within the sect. His strength has improved by leaps and bounds, and recently there are signs of faintly breaking through to the middle stage of the core formation. Later, he asked Li Yan once why he had advanced so quickly in cultivation and whether he had a different experience with the Li fire curse. Li Yan accidentally let it slip. Although he didn't say that he had found a wonderful person, Li Tian guessed it. Moreover, Li Yan has been staying in the cave. Although some disciples go out occasionally, can these disciples refine the elixir that Li Yan takes? Not only that, Li Yan's disciples are also several times better than the other elders' disciples. He then guessed that Li Yan must have hidden the person in the cave, but when he searched personally, he found nothing. "Dad, what are you thinking about? Are you trying to help Mr. Yan find the cause of his death?" At this time, a young man suddenly broke into the hall. Seeing that Li Tian was a little distracted, he asked. He is Li Tian's only son, Li Mo, who is at the peak of the late stage of foundation building. Li Mo also knew that Li Yan was dead, so he came over to inquire about the news. This old guy Li Yan is dead when he dies. What I'm thinking about is where is the person he hid? If anyone wants to say who is trusted by Li Tian the most, it is his own son. In fact, he has already touched the threshold of the nascent soul stage. As long as he lets go and practices, not to mention shutting down for 3 to 5 years, he is confident that he can succeed within 10 years. But that is only possible in the Peeper realm. The elders in the sect thought that he had encountered a bottleneck, but only he knew that he could not trust his son. In the Ya realm, there are all ants under the pill formation. He was waiting for Li Mo to break through and successfully form the pill before passing on the position of sect leader and then go to the Peeper realm alone. Tibetan. Li Mo suddenly laughed and said, "Dad, are you overthinking it? Our Liwo sect is so big, how can it be so easy to hide someone? They must have used some method that we don't know about." Hearing this, Li Tian suddenly sat up straight, as if he had been falling into a misunderstanding. Someone has to hide in a secret room or something like that, just like when he devoted himself to cultivation before, he needed to find a secret place to retreat to death. It should be a formation or something. I didn't expect that this old boy Li Yan. Li Tian is not stupid either. As long as he opens his mind, he immediately thinks of it. It's just that no one from the Liwo sect understands the formation. In other words, there are not many people who understand the formation in the entire Chuzhu. Li Mo was right, there was no need to hide at all. All you need to do is make them unable to find it, even if you don't expect it. Li Yan rarely leaves the cave. That person is either in the cave or not far from the cave. But no matter what, it must be in Liwo sect. "Dad, are you sure it's a formation?" Li Yan asked curiously. "Except for formations, I can't think of anything else that can hide a person from being discovered. Liwo sect is so big, if you want to hide it from the sky, it must be not far from Lion's Cave. Moer, go to Xian City and find someone come here, the formation master. As long as you can break the formation, spending a few spiritual stones is nothing." Li Tian's eyes flashed and he stood up suddenly. It wasn't like he hadn't thought about finding the formation himself and breaking it by force. But here's the thing. What he wants is a living person, not a dead person. With his own strength, he is afraid that when he breaks the formation, that person will be accidentally killed by him. "Dad, Scarlet Flame City is thousands of miles away." Li Mo was shocked, he had never been so far away. "It doesn't matter. Slow down, it doesn't matter, pay attention to safety first. That person will definitely hide in the formation and won't come out. Dad is guarding at the top of the mountain. He can't escape even if he wants to. Then, Dad, when should I set off?" "Go now, remember not to interact with strangers on the way." Li Tian regards Li as a treasure and does not dare to let him travel far away for training alone. But just going to Xian City to find someone is not a big problem. Furthermore, at the peak of the late stage of foundation building, as long as he does not seek death, no one will cause trouble for him. "Yes, Dad." Li Mo was not afraid. He grew up in Li Huo sect and was alone. The furthest he had ever been was the volcanic belt. But for more than a few dozen miles, it was not interesting at all. He had been to Xian City more than 10 years ago, and it was Li Tian who took him there. Compared to this place, it was a paradise. The population is prosperous and lively. There are also some novel things that have never been seen or heard of before. When he thought about not having Li Tian by his side this time, a sense of excitement arose in his heart. At this time, Lju was outside the volcanic zone, cursing. As far as the eye could see, it was all billowing smoke and dust, accompanied by a dull rumbling sound that could not be heard without stopping. Apparently, the volcano here started erupting. And looking at this formation, there is more than one. Damn it, what the hell did Li Yan do? Did he go crazy in his cultivation and activate all the volcanoes here? His face was extremely gloomy. On the way here, he thought that Li Tian had found nothing when he came out of the cave. This meant that all the good things were in Li Yan. If you find his body and then his storage bag, wouldn't you make a fortune? This trip was not a loss at all. But now it seems that Li Yan will most likely die here. I just don't know if his storage bag will also be burned. Wait a little longer, wait until the situation here calms down a bit, and then go over and take a look. As everyone knows, after Zhu Yun flew out of the volcano, he saw that not only was the volcano erupting, but magma was pouring out of the cracks in the ground. He simply threw Li Yan's body off the flying boat. And he was commanding the flying boat, which had just flown out of the other side of the volcanic belt. Fiaz, who is still too conspicuous. He still has fire spiritual power, but his chaotic spiritual power is not even 10%. Being in a strange place again, Zhu Yun certainly did not dare to wander around at will. After finding a deserted corner, he quickly entered the Dewu glazed mirror. After his injuries recovered and his spiritual power was fully restored, he came out again, and only 2 hours had passed. He pondered for a moment and then directly summoned Zhao Kamang. It was hot everywhere, making Zhao Kamang, a dragon-toothed beast, very uncomfortable. Do you know where this is? Zhu Yun asked. Zhao Kamang stretched out his paw and wrote on the ground and asked. Chuz hu? Zhu Yun nodded, then pointed in the direction he came from and said, that's the volcanic zone. I want to find Fangxi to see if I can get some information. Zhao Kamang thought for a while and then wrote 4 words. North, Xian City. Zhu Yun flashed with joy. After all, communicating with Zhao Kamang was too strenuous. After taking Zhao Kamang back, Zhu Yun began to rummage through Li Yan's storage bag. But as soon as his spiritual consciousness penetrated, he immediately froze.